Welcome to the Stairway to Heaven. We're coming to you bringing insights into the ever-changing high-frequency currents now bathing the planet and their effect on us all. The source of vital information for the evolving human being. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. The truth behind monsters, demons, myths, legends, and fairy tales. Throughout the ages, there have been stories of monsters, demons, possessing spirits, vampires, curses, and enchantments. These stories persist even in modern times. There are many current reports of demons and demonic possession. Numerous people believe they've been cursed, and there are entire subcultures or cults, as the case may be, designed around the concept of vampires. If these things are not real, why do so many people still believe in them? What is causing the experiences and encounters that keep the so-called myths alive? To answer that question, we'll need to take a deeper look at frequency, the imagination, and the collective unconscious. Everything we see, hear, smell, taste, or feel expresses as frequency. Yet there are many more frequencies in the world than our five senses can register. Frequency runs along a continuum with much existing above and below human perceptions. Some of it can be registered on scientific instrumentation. High frequencies, such as EMFs, radio waves, gamma waves, radiation, can all be detected by scientific equipment, as can lower frequencies, such as that emitted by the planet. No doubt there's a whole new world to be discovered as our instrumentation becomes more refined. Despite popular belief, humans are not restricted to the five senses. Though most of us are not consciously aware of it, we're privy to frequencies we do not necessarily hear, smell, taste, see, or feel. On the other hand, some of us can hear, smell, taste, see, or feel well beyond the normal bandwidth experienced by most people. These abilities have been referred to as the clairs, clairvoyant, clairaudient, and so on. How do we register these frequencies above and below the normal spectrum? As we've discussed in prior episodes, the imagination is the link between spirit and the mundane, between the material world and the quantum level. More than just scary stories, monsters, myths, legends, and fairy tales are actually metaphorical representations of frequencies in our environment and their impact on our lives. The imagination, not the mind, is where we access frequency or energetic information. That information is represented in the imagination as an allegory. Once allegories are present, it is then the job of the mind to interpret them. Unfortunately, we often take metaphorical information literally, rather than understanding their simple representations of frequencies present. For instance, a sensitive person may walk into a room where two people recently had a vicious disagreement. During the argument, they polarized and their frequency dropped until both were in fight or flight and feeling violent. One may even have been so enraged as to want to strangle the other if they couldn't get them to see things their way or give in to their demands. The people may have since left the room, but like a bad smell, the frequency distortion remains. The sensitive person picks up the distortion and wonders what they're perceiving. The very act of wondering engages the imagination that dutifully paints a metaphor to represent the frequency at hand. The sensitive may then see an enraged demon. Depending upon the sensitivity of the person, it may be so vivid as to appear to be physically in the room. Now, why do they imagine a demon? Why not a unicorn? There are cultural allegories that have been in the collective psyche for millennia, demons being one of them. When seeking an allegory to represent a set of frequencies, the imagination draws on the collective unconscious for symbols, and then chooses the metaphor which best represents the presenting energy. Given that one of the individuals in the room wanted to kill the other, I'd have to say a demon is a much better fit than a unicorn. We might think, well, then if demons are just in our imagination, they're not real. They can't hurt us. Unfortunately, that's not true. While the metaphor of a demon is a symbol from the imagination, the energy it represents is a reality. Can it be dangerous? Absolutely it can. Look at it this way. Radiation is just a frequency, but it can easily kill you. So let's look at how some of these frequencies express. We've all heard of possessing spirits. Some may even have been unfortunate enough to have witnessed a seeming possession. If a person is unstable or genetically predisposed to taking on low frequencies, they can indeed resonate with a negativity and express it themselves. This explains mob mentality. When in a group of people all expressing a low violent frequency, it's very difficult not to resonate with it and act on it oneself. Atrocities can be perpetrated by a mob that no individual would commit on their own. It gives a whole new meaning to "the devil made me do it." There may be a genetic predisposition causing a tendency to resonate with incompatible frequency. This is the case of what is referred to as family line demons. Purported demonic possession being passed down from one family member to the next is a case of nature or nurture. Genetically, a person may be less able to maintain healthy frequency, rendering them more subject to that which is in their environment. One example of a family line demon is in the case of a person with a predisposition to alcohol that also had an abusive alcoholic parent. When the parent would get drunk and abuse them as a child, they were subject not only to the trauma, but the frequency of the abuser. When we're traumatized, we tend to fragment or disassociate. In so doing, we disconnect from part of our natural frequency. This creates a vacant space within us, compromising our integrity. Nature hates a vacuum. The empty space is then filled with frequencies in the environment, in this case, that of the drunken abuser. As an adult, any compromise in the person's frequency, such as dropping into fight or flight or becoming drunk, will return them to the frequency imposed on them as a child. They are then likely to become abusive themselves. To the observer, they're acting just as their parent had, even using the same language and form of abuse. It looks like the same beastie, so to speak. This has led to the belief of a demon jumping from family member to family member down the generations, and in a way, that's exactly what happens. The sins of the fathers and all that. On a cheerier note, let's look at fairies, sprites, nymphs, and earth spirits. Every culture has ancient metaphorical representations of the frequencies of the elements. When in the presence of the element in question, the imagination will draw on the collective psyche for an allegory to represent the frequency. What is chosen may have to do with a person's lineage or the stories they heard growing up. Thus, when by a body of running water, a sensitive person may see a water sprite out of the corner of their eye. Is the sprite actually there? Yes. It's not corporeal, but at a higher frequency. Some have even recorded water sprites in the form of orbs captured on film. What shows up on film, if not just a dust mote, is the toroidal or electromagnetic field created by the moving water, which is the same frequency prompting the water sprite metaphor in the imagination of the sensitive observer. There are also allegories representing frequencies produced by intentions or character traits. Some people are very manipulative and charming. They will assume whatever persona will give them what they want. Rather than expressing the truth of who they are, they manipulate frequencies to appear otherwise, to trick and exploit those around them. This ability to manipulate frequency is well represented by the enchantress or the fairy tales of the old crone appearing as a beautiful maiden to get the prince to marry her. For instance, we've all seen a woman who totally fools an unsuspecting man into thinking she's his soulmate. His friends may ask each other, how can he be fooled by her game? It's so obvious. Whether male or female, these people are very gifted at intuiting exactly what a person dreams of in a soulmate and energetically emulating it. The pretense is specific to their victim, therefore others often see through it. Eventually, however, the perpetrator can no longer keep up the pretense. The enchantment will wear off, and the poor target finds themselves in love with an illusion. Then we have vampires, often referred to as narcissists. They are so self-absorbed they suck all the air out of a room. They rarely produce anything themselves, as in they have no life of their own, but make everything about them. They have no conscious or moral character and feel entitled to do whatever is necessary to get their desires met. They will often attach themselves to the metaphorical jugular of their victim and energetically drain them dry. They will isolate and decimate a person by driving away all friends and support groups. Then they work head games to build themselves up by tearing the person down, feeding off of the misery they create. Soon, the victim loses their self-esteem, becomes depressed and drained. After long exposure, their health fails. All the while, the vampire thrives. Ironically, vampires tend to use enchantment to draw in and keep their victims. The metaphors we find in our imagination can also be prophetic, representing things that have yet to occur but are forming at the quantum level. Have you ever noticed how many science fiction writers are prophetic in their portrayal of future events? Personal computers, robots, ATMs, and the internet were all written about by science fiction authors well before they came into being. How does that work? When fantasies or science fiction writers create their stories, they do it in the imagination. When a person engages the imagination, they may be unwittingly or intentionally accessing esoteric information about the current or the future events. Often, a fictional story has hidden within it profound metaphorical or prophetic information. Songwriters from the 60s and 70s, like Bob Dylan, wrote lyrics predicting the very things we are now experiencing. Why? Many of the artists, particularly during the 60s and 70s, were taking hallucinogens, which produce a trance-like state that engages the imagination, accessing the quantum level. It's interesting indeed to see these old songs unfolding today. The key to understanding frequency information is the accurate translation of allegory. This is a skill practiced by the ancients and paramount to acquire today. For only by being able to decode allegory can we accurately perceive our imagination, what our imagination is telling us about the energetic influences in our lives. When working with the translation of energetic data, remember metaphorical information often holds more than one meaning, and its meanings deepen over time as our understanding evolves. As the ambient frequency of the planet rises, so do our perceptions, making heretofore invisible frequencies more visible. These are indeed the times when the truth can no longer hide. Moving forward, we may all become increasingly aware of the spirits around us. Be they demons or helping spirits, the allegorical information can be very useful, as long as we don't take the metaphor literally and get caught up in the drama. Most indigenous cultures believe everything has spirit. To walk in a good way is to walk in authenticity and balance with the spirit of the earth and all of our relations. Considering everything expresses according to frequency, there is great wisdom in this concept. The more true we stay to our nature and in balance with everything around us, the more we stand in the truth of who and what we came to do. From this place of sovereignty, our frequency is balanced and stable. We are then not subject to monsters, demons, ghouls, goblins, and things that go bump in the night. Thank you for joining me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on the Stairway to Heaven, where we provide updates on the energetic currents facilitating our evolution into conscious, powerful co-creators. As I'm sure you've noticed, not only do the Stairway to Heaven episodes stand alone, but they weave together to form a map to evolution and personal empowerment as we enter the new era. To revisit this or any of our past episodes, visit our archives at www.stairwaytoheavenmedia.com. If you'd like to find out more about me, my school, and the evolutionary tools we offer, visit www.findyourpathhome.com. Until next time, may you be blessed on your sacred path to wholeness. We are here. The time is now.